Now, somebody had told me, actually one of our guests that's going to be on the show later named Chris Rada, she said that there are two women who are running for the board named Judy Jennings and Rebecca Bell. I don't even know how to pronounce this woman's name. But basically their point of view is that if people are going to be making changes to the curriculum, they have to have the educational qualifications to do so. But I don't really understand Texas politics to know if that's, I mean, is this in a runoff election or something coming up, or are you aware of them?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and it's very complicated, and I'm actually glad that this process is complicated so it can't be, just ramrodded right through there really quickly, right? There's a long process, and I'm not sure about it. Like I said, Kathy's been following it better, but the big thing to remember, though, is that, yes, the rest of the nation really relies upon a lot of this because they buy books from the same publishers when we make these large orders here in Texas. And I almost want to call out those publishers. I think there's one group that's put together a petition, I understand.
There is, and we're going to have them on next, actually. Yeah.
That is great, because I've always said that if the business that publishes these books, if they're being asked to do something they know and their conscience is wrong, just simply by printing up lies like this, and something that's going to go onto the desks of thousands of public school students in Texas and beyond, I think it behooves them to look at other states like California. I'm sure California doesn't have this problem right now, and so what if they just ignore Texas for 1 year and send a signal to the Board of Education? But yes, you're right. Some of those people on the board are not educators or anything close to it, and it just really seems more like politics and opinion instead of academia and fact. And
and it's some of it is very bizarre opinion. In our next thing, I'll have a quote from what this woman, Cynthia Dunbar, said. And this woman is advocating homeschooling. I mean, she says that public schools are, Satan's tool. So what on earth is she doing on the public school board?
I've got a whole spiel on this. My whole feeling is pretty much the opposite in the same direction. And that is that I, as a parent of kids who have grown up and gone through the whole public school system in Texas already, and myself having done that as well, I have absolutely given up on public schools in Texas, and at least in Texas. And the reason why is because the one and only public school I attended was very, very religious. I mean, they had an assembly that was mandatory one day. All the students had to be there. Didn't tell us why. They pulled out an evangelist. For an hour and a half, he preached about Jesus. We tried to leave. They wouldn't lead us. So things like that all the time. And public schools are under siege, essentially, in a educational sense. It's possible that there's so many, not simply incidents, but there's so many groups that are systematically trying to turn public schools into churches, for lack of a better term. And seriously, I mean, I've seen so many of these incidents and actually long, ongoing problems in certain public schools. It's enough to say that public schools in America are now the second most religious institution, second only to churches. And it's sad.
I agree with you. And we brought this up on another show. I don't think you were on that particular show. And I was saying, because I've been following some of this, that some of the homeschoolers, the homeschooling movement is changing in some ways because parents are really concerned that they don't want their kids having to learn that creationism is science and having to be exposed to some of these religious views. I don't know. This is going to be really interesting to watch. Now, Joe, do you guys have a website so that people can kind of track what's going on and what you're doing?
Well, with the progress of the Texas textbook situation, I would definitely go to atheist.org. But you also mentioned Atheists Helping the Homeless, which is totally separate, but yet an affiliated group of American atheists. I appreciate that.
Well, you guys are doing great work with that. How's that going, by the way? You still out there donating and keeping busy?
Oh, yes. Once a month, we're still doing our giveaways. In fact, June 20th is our next giveaway, and I wanted to quickly make the announcement that it'll be a little different this time. We're going to give away our regular items that we give away to the homeless here in Austin. But also this time, because the summer solstice will be the next day, it'll be June 20th, and then the summer solstice the next day, I'm going to give away some barbecue. I'll probably do a barbecue the day before that, too, and at the swimming pool where I live. But I want to go down there and share some of that summer solstice spirit, if you will, in a non-preaching way, but also to help people at the same time in the normal way that we do, and get it all on video and help spread the cheer, if you will.
That is fantastic. Well, Joe, thank you for joining us, and after the show, I will do an article with everybody's links I couldn't fit it in the blog talk thing. There wasn't enough room. They only give you like 2,000 characters. So what I will do is put that in an article that will appear on the site tomorrow. But thank you very much for going out there, rallying, getting people active, and getting the message out there. It's fantastic. So
thank you very much, Stuart, for helping us publicize all this very important information.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to mute you. Now, our next guest is, this is a pre-recorded segment because she wasn't able to join us live tonight. But her name is Arielle Gingold, and she's with the Interfaith Alliance. And as Joe mentioned, it's not just secular, atheist, non-religious people who are opposed to these changes, but also a lot of the faith-based groups are very concerned about what's going on. Now, Arielle is a 2008 graduate of George Washington University, and she studied political science. After graduation, she spent a year working as a legislative assistant at the Religious Action Center, and then she became, the public policy director over at Interfaith Alliance. So I'm going to put her segment on now, and their group is the one that has the petition for that's going directly to the textbook publishers. It's really an awesome resource that they have. Here we go. And today is Wednesday. We're pre-recording this segment of the show, and I'm just thrilled to be speaking with Arielle Gingold, who's the public policy manager at Interfaith Alliance. Arielle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Show. Well, can you tell us, one of the things that attracts me about Interfaith Alliance is that you guys, you champion individual rights and you protect both religion and democracy. And basically, my understanding is that you kind of are on guard for extremism. Would that be a correct characterization, or?
Absolutely, we are. We're an organization that feels strongly about the positive role religion can play, but also that, religion and government are at their best when the proper boundaries between them are respected. And so we absolutely keep on the lookout for extremism, and, in particular from members of the religious right. And our members are people of faith as well as people of no religious faith, who all come together for the belief that the separation between the institutions of religion and government are best for both parties.
And I would agree with, because the separation of church and state, I think, has been the very thing that has made religion flourish in America.
Absolutely.
Because we're not having to pay to the Church of the United States, for instance, or anything else. And, as far as I'm concerned, that is a constitutional right worth defending. And that's what bothers me about this Texas school book thing. Because they are trying to teach that, oh, yes, there's a First Amendment right that you can, have your own kind of religion, but that stops at that government cannot interfere with your faith, but religion can influence government, public policy, and everything else. And what they're trying to do is to minimize the legal concept of the separation of church and state. And
right.
Now, you guys put out a press release, if I can find that. It was really pretty good.
Thank you.
It went right to the heart of the issue. This was on, I don't see a date.
I believe it was on Friday, this past Friday.
Right after all of that passed.
Exactly.
And so anyway, it was Reverend Dr. Welton Gaddy, who's your president. And he said, I'm gravely disappointed but not surprised by today's vote of the Texas State Board of Education. Once you assume the prerogative to change history, it is an easy leap to claiming the authority to change the Constitution in order to reshape the future according to a biased ideological vision. I hope people will not misunderstand this as an act favorable to religion. This ill-advised action makes it imperative that citizens express their outrage over this decision and their desire for textbook publishers to be true to the mission of quality education and the facts of history.